Welcome back to the Vale Echo, where shadows tell forgotten stories and every secret leaves behind an echo. Tonight we step into the Hopkins House, a Victorian mansion that has stood for over a century, cloaked in fog, lightning, and whispers of terror. Imagine this, an eerie silhouette of towering spires under a stormy sky, its gates sealed with the Hopkins family crest, cracked and weathered by time. To the townsfolk, it was just another relic of the past. But inside, the walls hid something far darker. As we move closer, the lanterns glow faintly against the stone, almost as though they burn not for light but as warnings. Step through the heavy oak doors and you enter a hallway lined with portraits, dusty, faded, but unsettlingly alive. Each face, carved with stern expressions, seems to follow you, their eyes fixed in a gaze that pierces deeper the longer you look. The Hopkins family was wealthy, respected, envied. Yet behind those painted smiles lay stories never meant to see daylight. The candlelight flickers against antique furniture, casting monstrous shadows that twist and crawl along the walls. A massive portrait of the entire family dominates the room. At first glance it looks ordinary, but the longer you stare the more wrong it feels. The figures appear too rigid, the painted eyes too sharp, and when lightning strikes outside it seems as if they shift ever so slightly, breathing life into oil and canvas. In the attic, layers of dust coat a locked wooden chest, hidden beneath cobwebs. No one dares touch it, for it is said the chest holds the earliest records of the Hopkins bloodline, records that could explain why the family's fortune was built not on success but on sacrifice. And then a mirror cracked with age reflects more than just your shadow. A pale figure in Victorian dress lingers at the edge of your vision, gone the second you turn but leaving behind an icy trace. Step into the nursery and the scene grows more haunting. A rocking horse sways with no one near, its wood chipped and splintered, as if a child abandoned it mid-play. Toys scattered across the floor tell of lives cut short, laughter that once filled the room now replaced with silence heavy enough to choke. And on a desk below, blood-stained letters lie scattered, their words faded but their meaning unmistakable: pleas for help, never delivered. The Hopkins mansion was not just a house. It was a vault, locking away the sins of generations. Every hallway, every cracked wall whispered with fragments of truth, daring the living to uncover them. And though many tried, few returned unchanged. The Hopkins family may have left this world, but their secrets, those whispers behind the walls, still echo louder than ever. Beneath the fatting grandeur of the Hopkins mansion lies a truth that was never meant to be discovered. Behind the dusty shelves of the library, one book shifts differently from the rest. When pulled, the entire bookcase groans and swings open, revealing a narrow passageway that plunges into utter darkness. The air inside is heavy, thick with mold and silence, as if the very walls are holding their breath. This was the family's first line of defense, their secrets buried behind false doors, their sins locked in silence. The narrow passage leads downward, each creaking stair echoing like a warning. At the bottom lies a basement hallway, its walls lined with rusted chains and long-forgotten tools. What were once simple instruments of labor now hang menacingly, their edges corroded with age, whispering of darker uses. The Hopkins family, respected by day, had turned this hidden cellar into a chamber where obedience was demanded, and punishment was carried out in the shadows. On a dusty table rests a leather-bound journal, its pages warped by moisture but still legible. Flicking through, the drawings grow more disturbing with each turn, scribbled figures kneeling in circles, dark symbols carved into parchment, blood-colored stains seeping into the corners of the pages. These weren't the musings of a madman. They were instructions, rituals, a map of the Hopkins' descent into something far more sinister than mere cruelty. The deeper we venture, the more the truth is undeniable. A hidden chamber opens, the floor marked with chalked ritual symbols. The symbols are not random but calculated, geometric, designed with intention. At the center lies a circle large enough for several people, stained as if something or someone had been there before. This was not superstition, this was practice. The Hopkins family was not just wealthy, they were keepers of a blood pact, bound to forces that demanded sacrifice. Moving back into the upper floors, the house itself begins to betray their sins. In the grand dining room, the long wooden table is still set with silver plates and tarnished goblets, yet the chairs are buried beneath layers of dust as though no one has sat there in decades. At the center of the table sits a cracked porcelain doll, its face broken, eyes staring blankly into the void. It is a chilling reminder of the innocence lost within these walls, a ghost of the children who once laughed here but were silenced before they could grow. From the corner, shadows shift. A tall, dark silhouette lingers in the doorway of the kitchen, unmoving, unbreathing. The figure does not step forward nor retreat, it simply watches as though it has always been there, as though it belongs to the house itself. And then the final piece of the puzzle emerges, an old photograph hidden among the journals. Unlike the family portraits displayed proudly in the hallways, this one reveals someone else, a secret child deliberately erased from public memory. Their face is pale, their expression vacant, as if their very existence was a curse. This child was not celebrated, not loved, but locked away, hidden like the mansion's darkest rooms. The Hopkins house was not built to shelter a family. It was built to contain their sins. And every hidden door, every chained wall, every faded photograph only leads us closer to the truth. The Hopkins name was not preserved by chance, it was protected by blood. The deeper we descend into the Hopkins mansion, the more the air thickens, as if the very house resents our presence. At the end of the winding basement halls lies a locked iron door, glowing faintly from the cracks between its rusted hinges. For generations, locals spoke of this sealed chamber, a place where the Hopkins' darkest secret was imprisoned. With trembling hands, the barrier is forced open, revealing horrors no family name could ever cleanse. Inside, chained to the wall, rests a skeleton still draped in Victorian clothing. Its wrists are bound with heavy iron cuffs and the jaw hangs open in a silent scream. This was no stranger, this was blood of their blood, condemned and forgotten, hidden so the Hopkins name could remain untarnished. Yet the truth lingers in bone and dust, refusing to be buried. The faint glow from the door illuminates ritual markings smeared on the walls, symbols that were never meant to be seen, symbols that speak of sacrifice to keep the family's fortune intact. And then she appears, the woman in white, a ghostly figure draped in a torn gown, her hair cascading like shadows, her eyes hollow wells of sorrow. She stands in the attic where her grief is eternal, her sobs echoing through the wooden beams. Some say she was the family matriarch, others insist she was the hidden child punished for existing. Whoever she was, her spirit is bound to the house, her pain the final chain tying the Hopkins bloodline to its curse. The mansion itself begins to reveal its agony. Blood-red handprints stain the hallway walls, appearing fresh though the house has stood abandoned for decades. They smear downward as if clawing for escape, but escape never came. Each step deeper into the house becomes a step into its torment, and finally the mansion cannot hold back its fury any longer. A storm rages outside, lightning cracks against the sky, and the Hopkins house groans under the weight of its secrets. Flames erupt, consuming its wooden frame, swallowing portraits, journals, and bones alike. The great house of pride and wealth collapses in on itself, becoming a tomb of fire and ash. To the world, it is the end of a haunted mansion. But to those who know, it is the Hopkins curse devouring itself at last. When the fire dies, the house remains nothing more than a husk, charred beams, broken windows, and walls strangled by vines. By daylight it looks silent, almost peaceful, but beneath the rubble whispers still crawl, daring the curious to listen. The Hopkins family is gone, their wealth turned to dust, but the shadows of their sins remain carved into the very earth. And so, the Hopkins House of Horrors leaves us with a chilling truth. Some legacies are not built on honor or triumph, but on blood, betrayal, and secrets too dark to stay buried. The echoes of the Hopkins bloodline will never rest,